The woman's hands trembled as she pressed them against the bleeding wound, feeling the familiar warmth spread through her palms while the dying rancher's breathing steadied beneath her touch. Nora Jenkins pulled back quickly, wrapping the man's torso in clean bandages to hide what she had just done, praying nobody in the crowded San Francisco boarding house had noticed the golden glow that sometimes accompanied her gift. It was 1878, and California was still wild enough that strange things got people killed, especially women who traveled alone. She had learned to hide her healing ability when she was just 12 years old, back in Boston. Her mother had warned her with dying breaths that people feared what they could not understand. The church called such things witchcraft. Doctors called it fraud. Either way, it meant danger. So Nora had fled west after her mother passed, seeking anonymity in the rough frontier towns where people asked fewer questions about your past and more about what you could do with your hands in practical terms. The boarding house keeper, Mrs. Chen, knocked softly before entering. "How is Mr. Patterson?" Nora wiped her hands on a cloth, careful to keep her expression neutral. The wound was not as deep as it appeared. He should recover with rest and proper care. Mrs. Chen's weathered face showed relief. "You have such a way with the injured, Miss Jenkins. This is the third man you have helped this month." That was exactly the problem. Nora had been trying to keep her head down, working as a seamstress and occasionally helping with minor injuries. But the pull to heal was so strong, and she could not stand by when someone was suffering. Each time she helped, she risked exposure. Each time she used her gift, the golden light grew brighter, harder to conceal. "I should go," Nora said, gathering her small medical kit. The supplies were mostly for show, to give her a reason to be called to sickness. "Please send word if his condition changes." She stepped out into the muddy streets of San Francisco, pulling her shawl tight against the evening fog rolling in from the bay. The city had grown rapidly, from a sleepy mission town to a bustling port filled with fortune seekers, immigrants, and those running from something. Nora fit right in with the latter category. The sound of gunfire cracked through the air, and people scattered. Nora ducked into an alley, her heart racing. Two men ran past, one clutching his arm. Behind them, three more gave chase, their faces hard with anger. This was the violence that came with rapid growth and little law. The vigilance committees had tried to impose order, but the city still had its dangerous corners. Nora waited until the footsteps faded before emerging. She hurried toward her small, rented room above a bakery, eager to lock herself away for the evening. But as she turned the corner, she nearly collided with a man stumbling backward, blood streaming from his side. "Sorry, miss," he gasped, pressing his hand to the wound. His face was pale beneath several days of stubble, his dark hair falling into eyes that were startlingly blue even in the dimming light. "You should get inside. Not safe out here." He tried to move past her, but his legs buckled. Nora caught him by instinct, feeling the sticky warmth of blood on her hands. "You are shot." "Just grazed," he said, though his grimace suggested otherwise. "I will be fine." He would not be fine. Nora could feel the damage, the torn flesh and nicked artery. He had maybe an hour before he bled out, less if he kept moving. She looked around the empty street, then made a decision that she knew might change everything. "Come with me," she said firmly. "My room is just there. You need help. Do not want to trouble you, miss." But he was leaning on her now, his strength fading. "It is more trouble if you die on my doorstep." Nora guided him toward the narrow stairs leading to her room. He was tall and solid, clearly a man used to physical work. His clothes were dusty from travel, and he wore a gun belt slung low on his hips. A cowboy, then, or perhaps a ranch hand, someone who had gotten on the wrong side of something. They made it up the stairs through sheer determination on both their parts. Nora kicked open her door and helped him to the narrow bed that dominated the small room. He collapsed onto it with a groan. "I need to see the wound," Nora said, already moving to light her lamp. The man tried to sit up. "I cannot ask you to do this. You do not even know me." "Then tell me your name while I work." She brought the lamp closer and began unbuttoning his vest. The fabric was soaked with blood. "Tucker," he said through gritted teeth. "Tucker Ellis. I am a cattle buyer working my way up from Texas." "Well, Mr. Ellis, I am Nora Jenkins, and if you want to live to buy more cattle, you need to lie still and be quiet." She pulled away his shirt and saw the extent of the damage. The bullet had torn through his side and he was losing blood fast. Too fast for conventional treatment. Tucker's eyes were already glazing. "Pretty name. Pretty woman too, if you do not mind me saying. Sorry I am bleeding all over your bed." "Hush." Nora made her decision. She could not let him die, even if it meant revealing herself. She placed both hands directly on the wound and closed her eyes, calling up the healing warmth that lived somewhere deep in her chest. It rose like a tide, flowing down her arms and into her palms. The golden light began to glow, soft at first, then brighter. She felt the torn tissue knitting back together, felt the severed blood vessel repairing itself. The bullet had passed through cleanly, which helped. She worked quickly, her whole body focused on the task of healing. The warmth spread through him, finding smaller injuries too. Bruised ribs, old scars, the lingering pain of a broken hand that had not set quite right years ago. She fixed what she could, drawing on reserves of energy that left her breathless. When she finally pulled back, the wound was closed, leaving only a pink scar. The blood remained, but the source was sealed. Nora swayed, exhausted from the effort. Tucker's eyes snapped open, fully alert now. He stared at her, then looked down at his side where moments ago he had been dying. His hand touched the healed flesh, disbelief written across his face. "What did you just do?" His voice was a whisper. Nora stepped back, suddenly afraid. This was the moment she always dreaded, the moment when people saw her for what she was and either ran in fear or sought to exploit her gift. "I helped you. That is all." "That is not all." Tucker sat up slowly, testing his body. "I was shot. I felt it. The bullet went clean through, and now—" He looked at his hands, flexing fingers that no longer ached from an old injury. "My hand. I broke it 5 years ago, and it has hurt ever since, but now it does not. You should go." Nora moved to the door, opening it. "You are healed. That is what matters." But Tucker made no move to leave. Instead, he stood carefully, his eyes never leaving her face. "You have a gift. A real, genuine gift from God or wherever such things come from. Or from the devil," Nora said bitterly. "That is what most people think." "Is that why you hide it? Why you nearly let me die before using it?" "I have learned that miracles make people uncomfortable. They prefer their healers to be slow and uncertain, to follow the rules of medicine and prayer. What I do frightens them." Tucker moved closer and Nora tensed, ready to flee. But his expression held no fear, only wonder and something else. Calculation, perhaps. "How long have you had this power?" "Since I was a child. My mother had it too, though hers was weaker. She could ease pain, stop bleeding. I can do more." Nora did not know why she was telling him this. Perhaps because she was tired of carrying the secret alone. Perhaps because he had looked at her with awe instead of horror. "And you have been hiding here in San Francisco, helping people in small ways, trying not to draw attention." Tucker nodded slowly. "That must be lonely." The kindness in his voice nearly broke her. "What do you want, Mr. Ellis? To sell my secret? To drag me before some traveling show? I want to offer you a deal." Tucker's voice grew serious. "I was not entirely honest about why I was shot." Those men chasing me work for a man named Victor Harding. He is a rich landowner who has been trying to force smaller ranchers off their property. I testified against him in court last week, and he did not take kindly to it. He means to kill me, Miss Jenkins. I have a target on my back. Then you should leave San Francisco. I plan to. I have a ranch inherited from my uncle up in the northern part of the state. It is remote, beautiful country, but it is also dangerous territory. I need to heal up properly before I can make the journey, and I need to do it fast because Harding's men will be looking for me. Nora began to understand. You want me to heal you completely to give you strength for the journey. More than that. Tucker's blue eyes were intense. I want you to come with me. Those men saw me stumble into this building. If they figure out which room, they will come looking, and if they find you, if they discover what you can do. He let the implication hang. They would use me. Nora felt cold. She had always feared this, but she had thought San Francisco was big enough to get lost in. Now her own compassion had exposed her, or worse. But if you come with me to my ranch, I can protect you. It is isolated enough that you could use your gift freely, help the people in the area who need it. And in return, you would be safe. I give you my word on that. The word of a man I met 10 minutes ago. The word of a man whose life you saved, knowing the risk to yourself. Tucker stepped closer. I will not pretend this is entirely selfless. Having a healer at my ranch would be valuable. The nearest doctor is 2 days' ride away, and injuries are common in that country. But I swear to you, Miss Jenkins, I would protect your secret and your safety with my life. You saved me. Let me return the favor. Nora wanted to refuse, but she knew he was right. She had been careless tonight, had exposed herself. If Harding's men came looking, if they found Tucker healed, they would ask questions. And Mrs. Chen would remember the seamstress who had a way with injuries. The church ladies who ran the hospital would recall the young woman who volunteered there, whose patients always seemed to recover faster than expected. Where is this ranch? She asked. Up near the Shasta Valley, close to the Oregon border. It is cattle country with mountains and rivers. The nearest town is small, just a trading post and a few buildings. You would have your own cabin, your own space. I would not expect anything improper from you if that is your worry. That is one of many worries. But Nora felt a strange pull toward this idea. To live somewhere remote, where she could use her gift without fear, to help people openly, even if only a few, to stop hiding what she was. I do not know you, Mr. Ellis. Then know this. I was raised by my uncle after my parents died of fever. He taught me that honor matters more than gold, that a man's worth is measured by how he treats those weaker than himself. He built that ranch with his own hands and left it to me when he passed last year. I aim to make it something good, something that lasts. I could use a partner in that. Someone with gifts like yours. He paused. Someone like you. There was something in his voice that suggested he meant more than her healing ability, but Nora pushed that thought aside. She barely knew this man, yet something in her trusted him. Perhaps it was the way he had looked at her gift with wonder instead of fear. Perhaps it was simply that she was tired of running, tired of hiding. If I come, and I do not like the arrangement, you will bring me back to San Francisco or to another city of my choosing, she said firmly. And you will never tell anyone what I can do without my permission. Agreed. Tucker held out his hand. Do we have a deal? Nora looked at his outstretched hand, calloused from years of hard work, still stained with his own blood. She thought about her lonely room, her constant fear of discovery, the way she had to watch every touch, every healing. She thought about mountains and rivers and wide open spaces where no one would question miracles. She took his hand. We have a deal. Then we should leave tonight, Tucker said. As soon as you can pack. I have a horse stabled nearby and I can purchase another. The longer we wait, the more dangerous it becomes. Nora looked around her small room at the few possessions she had accumulated. It would take mere minutes to pack. She had learned long ago to travel light, to be ready to run. Give me 10 minutes. While she gathered her belongings, Tucker cleaned himself up as best he could, changing into a spare shirt from his saddlebag. Nora tried not to watch him, but she found her eyes drawn to the place where the bullet wound had been. Her work had been thorough. Not even a scar remained now, just healthy flesh. Does it hurt? She asked. Sometimes there is residual pain even after I heal someone. Tucker touched his side experimentally. Nothing. It is as if I was never injured at all. He looked at her with that same expression of wonder. You are extraordinary, Miss Jenkins. She felt her cheeks warm. I only did what anyone with compassion would do. No. Anyone with compassion would have bandaged me and hoped for the best. You risked everything to save a stranger. That is more than extraordinary. That is heroic. Nora busied herself with folding her spare dress. She was not used to such direct praise. We should focus on leaving, Mr. Ellis. You can flatter me later if you still feel inclined. Fair enough. But she caught him smiling. They slipped out of the boarding house through a back entrance, avoiding the main street. Tucker knew San Francisco well enough to navigate the maze of alleys and side streets. The fog had grown thicker, which helped conceal them. Nora clutched her single bag tightly, her heart pounding. She was leaving the closest thing she had known to stability in years, trusting a stranger who promised protection. The livery stable was quiet, the owner dozing in a corner. Tucker woke him and negotiated for a second horse, a steady mare that looked strong enough for the journey north. Nora had learned to ride as a girl, though she was not particularly skilled at it. Tucker helped her mount, his hands steadying her with surprising gentleness. It is a long ride, he warned. We will need to stop to rest the horses, but I want to put as much distance between us and the city as possible before dawn. I understand. Nora settled into the saddle, adjusting her skirts as modestly as possible. She had worn her most practical dress, dark blue wool that would not show dirt easily. They rode through the quiet streets, past buildings still bright with lamplight and others dark and shuttered. San Francisco was a city that never fully slept, but the fog created pockets of privacy. No one stopped them or seemed to take particular notice of a man and woman traveling together. Such sights were common enough in a port city. As they crossed into the outskirts, leaving behind the dense buildings for scattered houses and then open land, Nora felt something loosen in her chest. Fear, perhaps, or the constant tension of hiding. The night air was cool and clean, carrying the scent of grass and earth instead of coal smoke and unwashed bodies. Tucker kept them to a steady pace, not pushing the horses too hard. He seemed to know the roads well, choosing paths that avoided settlements. After several hours, he finally called a halt near a small creek. We should rest for a bit, he said, dismounting. Let the horses drink. Nora climbed down less gracefully, her legs stiff from riding. Tucker was there immediately, offering his arm for support. His consideration surprised her. Most men she had encountered in the West were rough and forward, treating women as either prizes or property. Tucker had a formality to him, a courteous manner that suggested good upbringing. Tell me about this ranch of yours, she said as they led the horses to the creek. What should I expect? It is about 3,000 acres with good grazing land and timber. My uncle ran cattle and I plan to continue. There is a main house, sturdy and well built. A bunkhouse for ranch hands, though I have only 3 working for me now. And there is a smaller cabin originally built for the foreman, but he passed away last winter. That would be yours. 3 ranch hands. Will they accept my presence? Tucker considered this. They are good men, loyal. One of them, Sam, has been with the ranch for 20 years. He knew my uncle well. The other two are younger, still learning. I think if I explain that you are a skilled healer and that your presence benefits everyone, they will welcome you. And what will you tell them about how we met? The truth, mostly. That I was injured in San Francisco and you helped me, that you needed a fresh start and I needed a healer. They do not need to know the details of your gift unless you choose to share them. Nora knelt by the creek, splashing cool water on her face. The truth was she did not yet know how much she wanted to reveal, even in the remote safety of Tucker's ranch. Years of hiding did not disappear in a single night. You are afraid, Tucker said quietly, kneeling beside her. I understand, but I meant what I said. I will protect you, and I will keep your secret for as long as you need me to. Why? Nora turned to look at him. Why does it matter so much to you? You could have ridden away, healed and free. Instead, you are dragging me into your life, promising protection you may not be able to give. What do you really want from me? Tucker met her gaze steadily. Honestly, when I was lying there, dying, I felt your hands on me and I felt something I have not felt in a long time. Hope. Not just hope that I would live, but hope that there was still good in this world, still people willing to sacrifice for strangers. My uncle used to tell me that the measure of a civilization was how it treated its most vulnerable. You are vulnerable, Miss Jenkins, whether you want to admit it or not. Your gift makes you powerful, but it also makes you a target. I want to be the kind of man who helps, not the kind who exploits. That is what I really want. His words rang with sincerity. Nora found herself believing him, perhaps foolishly, but believing nonetheless. You are an unusual man, Tucker Ellis. I hope that is a compliment. It is. She stood, brushing off her skirts. We should keep moving. You said you wanted distance from the city. They rode through the rest of the night, stopping only briefly to rest. As dawn broke over the California landscape, painting the rolling hills in shades of gold and amber, Nora felt as if she were riding into a new life. The fear was still there, but so was something else. Possibility. Tucker led them to a small settlement around mid-morning, just a few buildings clustered around a crossroads. He arranged for a hot meal and a few hours of rest at the local inn, paying for separate rooms without her having to ask. Nora collapsed onto the bed, exhausted from the night's ride and the emotional toll of her decision. She slept deeply, dreamlessly. When she woke, the sun was past its peak. She washed her face and changed into her other dress, trying to make herself presentable. When she came downstairs, Tucker was waiting with fresh supplies and a look of concern. There was talk in the tap room, he said quietly. Harding has men out looking for anyone who helped an injured man last night. They are offering a reward for information. Nora's stomach tightened. So I was right to leave. You were, and we need to keep moving. Are you able to ride? Yes. Though her body protested the thought of more hours in the saddle, she knew they had no choice. They continued north, following roads that grew progressively rougher and less traveled. The landscape changed gradually, from rolling hills to steeper terrain. They passed through small farming communities and skirted around larger towns. Tucker seemed to know exactly where he was going, navigating with the confidence of someone who had traveled this route many times. During their brief stops, they talked. Tucker told her about growing up in Texas, about learning cattle work from his father before the fever took both his parents, about moving to California to live with his uncle, who had been more father than relative, about inheriting a ranch he was not sure he was ready for at age 27. Nora shared less, but still more than she had told anyone in years. About her childhood in Boston, her mother's gentle guidance, the fear that had driven her west. About the loneliness of always hiding, always watching, never letting anyone close. That must have been hard, Tucker said as they rode through a pine forest. To have such a gift and not be able to use it freely. Sometimes I wondered if it was a gift at all. It felt more like a curse. But you still used it. Even knowing the risk, you still helped people. I could not do otherwise. When I feel someone suffering, when I know I could ease that pain with just a touch, how can I turn away? Tucker smiled. That is what makes it a gift, Nora. Not the power itself, but the fact that you choose to use it for good. It was the first time he had used her given name, and something about hearing it in his voice made her pulse quicken. She told herself it was just the intimacy of their situation, the forced closeness of days spent traveling together. But she could not deny that she found herself drawn to this quiet, honorable man who had looked at her strangeness and seen only wonder. They reached Shasta Valley after 6 days of hard travel. The landscape took Nora's breath away. Mountains rose on all sides, their peaks still dusted with snow despite the summer season. Rivers cut through meadows thick with wildflowers. The air was so clean it almost hurt to breathe after months in San Francisco's smoky streets. There, Tucker said, pointing to a valley below. That is Ellis land. Nora could see buildings in the distance, nestled against the foothills. A main house built of sturdy logs, several outbuildings and vast stretches of grassland dotted with cattle. It looked peaceful, isolated, perfect. As they rode down into the valley, Nora saw 3 men emerge from the barn, clearly alerted by the sound of approaching horses. One was older, with gray hair and a weathered face. The other 2 were younger, probably in their early 20s. Tucker dismounted and was immediately greeted by the older man. "Sam, good to see you." "Mr. Ellis, we were starting to worry. You have been gone nearly 3 weeks." Sam's eyes moved to Nora, curious but not unfriendly. "I ran into some trouble in San Francisco, but I am fine now, and I have brought someone back with me." Tucker helped Nora down from her horse. "This is Miss Nora Jenkins. She is a healer, and she has agreed to live here at the ranch." "Nora, this is Sam Porter, our foreman, and these are Jake and Will Martinez, brothers who work with us." The men greeted her with polite nods. Sam's expression was thoughtful. "A healer, you say? That would be welcome indeed. We have had our share of injuries with no doctor close by." "Miss Jenkins will be staying in the foreman's cabin," Tucker continued. "I want it cleaned and made comfortable for her, and I want it understood that she is under my protection. She is to be treated with absolute respect." There was steel in Tucker's voice, a command that made his authority clear. The men nodded their understanding. "I will see to the cabin myself," Sam said. "Welcome to Ellis Ranch, Miss Jenkins." "Thank you," Nora said, finding her voice. The men seemed decent enough, and their acceptance of her presence eased some of her worry. Tucker showed her around the property while Sam and the others tended to the horses. The main house was indeed well built, with a large central room, a kitchen, and 2 bedrooms. It was furnished simply but comfortably, with the touches of a man living alone but trying to maintain standards. "My uncle believed in doing things properly," Tucker explained. "He said just because you live in rough country does not mean you have to live rough." The cabin that would be Nora's was a short walk from the main house, positioned to give privacy while remaining close enough for safety. It was a single room with a sleeping loft, a stone fireplace, and windows that looked out toward the mountains. Sam had already started cleaning it, sweeping away dust and old cobwebs. "It needs a woman's touch," Tucker said, "but it is solid, and I will make sure you have everything you need, furniture, supplies, whatever you want." "It is more than I expected," Nora said honestly. The cabin was small but charming, with good light and sturdy walls. She could make a home here. Over the next few weeks, Nora settled into life at the ranch. Tucker was true to his word, providing her with everything she needed to make the cabin comfortable. A proper bed, a table and chairs, cookware, supplies. He even rode to the nearest town and returned with fabric, needles, and thread so she could continue her seamstress work. But more than material things, he gave her space. He did not pressure her to use her healing gift or demand that she explain it. He simply let her exist, peacefully, without fear. For the first time in years, the ranch hands proved to be good men, as Tucker had promised. Sam was kind and respectful, often bringing her vegetables from his garden or fresh meat from hunting. Jake and Will were shy around her at first but warmed up when they realized she was not some fragile city woman. She could ride, could shoot a rifle if needed, and was not afraid of hard work. Life fell into a rhythm. Nora helped with cooking and mending, tasks that earned her keep without drawing attention to her special abilities. She explored the surrounding land, discovering meadows and streams, places of such beauty they made her heart ache. And every evening, Tucker would stop by her cabin, checking to see if she needed anything, staying to talk for an hour or two. Those evening conversations became the highlight of Nora's days. Tucker was intelligent and thoughtful, with opinions on everything from politics to poetry. He made her laugh with stories about cattle who had personalities like stubborn people, about the challenges of ranching in remote country. He listened when she talked about her dreams of someday using her gift openly, of helping people without hiding. "You will," he assured her. "Here you can be yourself. When you are ready, we will find ways for you to help, but there is no rush." A month after her arrival, Jake Martinez cut his leg badly while repairing the barn. The wound was deep, and Sam brought the young man to the main house, worried. Nora heard the commotion and came running. "Let me see," she said, kneeling beside Jake where they had laid him on the table. The cut ran from his knee to his shin, bleeding freely. It would need many stitches, and even then, infection was likely in these conditions. Jake's face was pale. "I am sorry for the trouble, Miss Jenkins." Nora looked up at Tucker, who stood nearby. He met her eyes and gave a small nod. "Permission, trust." She turned to Sam and Will. "Bring me clean cloths and hot water, then leave us." But Will looked uncertain. "Do as she says," Tucker ordered quietly when they were alone except for Tucker. Nora placed her hands on Jake's leg. "This will feel strange, but it will not hurt. Do you trust me?" "Yes, madam." Jake's voice was tight with pain. Nora closed her eyes and let the healing warmth flow. The golden light bloomed under her hands, brighter than usual because the injury was so severe. She felt the torn muscle knitting together, felt the skin sealing. Within minutes, the wound was closed, leaving only a faint pink line. Jake stared at his leg, then at her, then at Tucker. "What? How?" "Miss Jenkins has a gift," Tucker said calmly. "A real one. She can heal injuries that would kill normal men or leave them crippled. That is why she is here, and that is why her presence on this ranch is a secret that we all keep. Do you understand?" Jake nodded slowly, still touching his healed leg in wonder. "I understand, and I will never tell a soul, Miss Jenkins. I swear it." When Sam and Will returned and saw Jake's leg completely healed, they reacted with similar shock. But Tucker's calm authority and Jake's earnest testimony won them over. By the end of the evening, all three ranch hands had sworn to keep Nora's secret, and she had agreed to help with any future injuries or illnesses that arose. It felt liberating to use her gift openly, even if only with a small group. That night, after the others had gone to the bunkhouse, Tucker stayed behind in her cabin. "Thank you for trusting them," Nora said, "and for making it safe for me to do so. They are good men. They will keep your secret." Tucker stood by the fireplace, the flames casting shadows across his face. "You did well today." Jake would have been in agony for weeks, possibly lost the use of that leg, you saved him from all that suffering. It felt good to help without hiding. Nora moved to stand beside him. I have you to thank for that. You have yourself to thank. You were brave enough to leave everything behind and trust a stranger. Tucker turned to look at her, and something in his expression made her breath catch. These past weeks, having you here, it has meant more to me than just having a healer on the ranch. What do you mean? But Nora thought she knew. She had felt it too, the growing connection between them, the way their evening conversations had become essential. I mean that I find myself looking forward to seeing you every day, that I think about you when I am working, wondering what you are doing if you are happy here, that when you smile, it feels like the sun coming out. Tucker took a step closer. I know it has only been a few weeks, and I know you came here for safety, not for anything else. But I would be lying if I said I did not care for you, Nora, deeply. Nora's heart was pounding. She had been drawn to Tucker from the first night, had felt the pull growing stronger with every conversation, every kindness. But she had told herself it was gratitude, nothing more. Now, facing the truth of her own feelings, she could not deny them. I care for you too, she said softly. I did not expect to. I thought I would come here, keep to myself, use my gift carefully and live quietly. But you have given me more than safety, Tucker. You have given me friendship, respect, the freedom to be myself. And yes, I look forward to seeing you every day. When you are near, I feel. What? Tucker's voice was gentle, encouraging, alive. Fully alive in a way I have not felt since my mother died. Nora reached out, touching his hand. You make me believe that I could have a real life, not just survival. Tucker's fingers closed around hers. You can have whatever life you want here. And if that life included me, included us together, I would count myself the luckiest man in California. Are you asking to court me properly, Mr. Ellis? I am, Miss Jenkins, with all the formality and respect you deserve. His blue eyes were warm in the firelight. Will you let me? Nora thought about all the reasons she should say no. She barely knew him, despite weeks of conversation. Her life was complicated, dangerous. She had always imagined herself alone, unable to risk the vulnerability of love. But looking at Tucker, feeling the warmth of his hand in hers, she realized she was tired of protecting herself from happiness. Yes, she said, I will. Tucker's smile was brilliant. He raised her hand to his lips and kissed it gently, formally. Then I will court you properly, starting tomorrow. We will do things right. And he did. Over the following months, Tucker courted Nora with old-fashioned courtesy and genuine affection. He brought her flowers from the mountain meadows, spent hours talking with her about everything and nothing, respected her boundaries even as their feelings deepened. He never pressured her for more than she was ready to give, never took advantage of their isolation. The ranch hands noticed and approved. Sam in particular seemed pleased, telling Nora one day that he had never seen Tucker so happy. His uncle worried about him being alone up here, Sam confided. Thought he needed a partner, someone strong and smart. I think he would have liked you, Miss Jenkins. Nora helped around the ranch wherever she could, using her healing gift when needed but also contributing in practical ways. She discovered she had a talent for managing the household, for organizing supplies and planning meals. Tucker noticed and appreciated it, often praising her efficiency. You are more than a healer, he told her one evening. You are making this place a real home. Does that please you? Nora asked. More than I can say. Tucker had grown bolder in his affection as the months passed, and now he put his arm around her waist, drawing her close. This ranch has always been just a place to work, but with you here, it feels like somewhere to build a life. They were standing on the porch of the main house, watching the sunset paint the mountains in shades of purple and gold. Nora leaned into Tucker's warmth, feeling safe and cherished. "I love you," she said suddenly. The words came out without planning, but once spoken, she knew they were true. "I love you, Tucker Ellis. I think I have loved you since that first night when you looked at my gift with wonder instead of fear." Tucker turned her to face him, his hands gentle on her shoulders. "I love you too, Nora Jenkins. I have loved you since you risked everything to save a dying stranger. Will you marry me? Will you make this your home permanently, not as my employee or my guest, but as my wife?" "Yes." Nora did not hesitate. This man had given her everything she needed to heal from years of running and hiding. He had shown her that she could be loved, gift and all. "Yes, I will marry you." Tucker kissed her then, deeply and thoroughly, and Nora felt the last walls around her heart crumble. This was what she had been missing, what she had thought was impossible. Love, belonging, home. They were married a month later in a small ceremony at the ranch. A circuit preacher happened through the area, and Tucker arranged everything quickly, eager to make Nora officially his. Sam stood as witness, along with Jake and Will. It was simple and perfect. Nora moved into the main house, though she kept her cabin as a workspace for her healing. Tucker was a tender, considerate husband, always making sure she was comfortable and happy. Their marriage was a partnership in every sense, with both contributing to the running of the ranch. News from San Francisco came occasionally through travelers and newspapers. Victor Harding had been arrested for murder, his hired guns having finally gone too far. The man who had tried to kill Tucker was facing justice. Nora felt the last shadow of fear lift. They were truly safe now. As autumn turned to winter, Nora discovered she was pregnant. Tucker was overjoyed, already planning additions to the house for a nursery. Sam and the ranch hands were equally excited, treating Nora with extra care and consideration. "What do you hope for?" Tucker asked one evening, his hand resting on her still flat stomach. "A boy or a girl?" "Healthy," Nora said firmly. "Boy or girl does not matter as long as the baby is healthy." "Will our children inherit your gift?" Tucker wondered. "I do not know. My mother had it, and she said her grandmother did too. It seems to run in families, but not everyone gets it. If they do, we will teach them to use it wisely, and they will never have to hide what they are, not here." That promise meant everything to Nora. Her children would grow up free, able to be themselves without fear. It was the greatest gift she could imagine. When spring came, Nora gave birth to a healthy baby boy. They named him Thomas after Tucker's father. The birth was easy, aided by Nora's own healing abilities. She was up and moving within hours, to Tucker's amazement. "You are incredible," he said, cradling his son with gentle reverence. "I cannot believe how lucky I am." "We are both lucky." Nora watched her husband with their baby, feeling her heart swell with love. "We found each other when we both needed saving." Thomas grew quickly, a healthy, happy baby who had Tucker's blue eyes and Nora's dark hair. The ranch hands doted on him, and Sam appointed himself honorary grandfather. Life settled into a new rhythm, busier but deeply satisfying. 2 years later, Nora gave birth to a daughter they named Emma. Then, 3 years after that, another boy named William. The house rang with children's laughter, with the sounds of a family growing and thriving. As the children grew, it became clear that Thomas had inherited Nora's healing gift. His touch could ease pain, could help wounds close faster. Nora taught him carefully, emphasizing both the responsibility and the wonder of such an ability. Emma and William showed no signs of the gift, but they were both bright, capable children who loved the ranch and the mountains. Tucker proved to be a wonderful father, patient and loving. He taught his children to ride, to work hard, to treat others with respect. He taught them that their mother's gift was something precious and special, not something to fear or hide. "You gave me this," he told Nora on their 10th anniversary. "You gave me a family, a real home, happiness I never imagined. I wake up every day grateful that you trusted me that night in San Francisco." "You gave me the same," Nora replied. "You gave me freedom, safety, love. You saw me as whole when I thought I was broken. We saved each other, Tucker." The years passed peacefully. The ranch prospered under their joint management. Tucker's cattle business grew, and Nora's reputation as a healer spread carefully through the region. People began traveling to the ranch seeking her help, and she was able to use her gift more openly, always within the safety Tucker provided. She healed broken bones and fevers, difficult births and mysterious ailments. Families would arrive desperate and leave grateful. Tucker never charged for Nora's healing, instead accepting what people could offer in trade or simply giving it freely. It felt right, using her gift this way as a true service. Their children grew into fine young people. Thomas studied healing with his mother, combining her gifts with medical knowledge gained from books Tucker ordered from the East. Emma became an expert rider and cattle handler, taking on more responsibility at the ranch. William showed a talent for managing the business side of things, keeping accounts and planning expansions. Nora watched her family with profound gratitude. She thought sometimes of that night in San Francisco, bleeding stranger, the split-second decision that had changed everything. She had been so afraid then, so certain that using her gift would destroy her. Instead, it had led her to this life, this love, this family. "You ever regret it?" Tucker asked her one evening as they sat on their porch, now weathered by 20 years of sun and snow. "Leaving the city, coming here with me. Not for a single moment." Nora took his hand, the gesture as familiar and comforting as breathing. "You kept your promise, Tucker. You protected me and you gave me a life where I could be myself. How could I regret that?" "I kept my promise," Tucker agreed, "but you gave me far more than I ever gave you. You made me whole, Nora. Not just that first night when you healed my body, but every day since when you have healed my heart." They sat together in comfortable silence, watching their grandchildren play in the yard. Yes, grandchildren. Thomas had married a local woman who accepted his gift, and they had 2 children of their own now. The ranch would continue, the legacy would grow. Nora had learned long ago that healing was not just about closing wounds or curing fevers. It was about creating spaces where people could flourish, where love could grow, where gifts could be used freely without fear. Tucker had created that space for her, and together they had built something lasting. The mountains stood eternal around them, the valley spread green and gold in the evening light. This land had become theirs, this ranch a sanctuary not just for them, but for anyone who came seeking help. It was everything Nora had never dared to dream, and it was real. "I love you," she said to Tucker, the words still as true as they had been that first time she spoke them. "I love you too," he replied, kissing her gently. "Always and forever, my Nora, my healer, my wife, my home." The sun set over the Shasta Valley, painting the sky in brilliant colors. Inside the house, the family gathered for dinner, children and grandchildren filling the rooms with noise and love. This was what healing truly meant, Nora thought. Not just the physical act, but the building of a life, a family, a legacy of love and acceptance. She had hidden her talent for so long, afraid of what it meant, what it would cost her. But in the end, that very gift had led her to everything she needed. Tucker had said, "Heal me and I will protect you." And from that, bargain had grown a love deeper and truer than either of them could have imagined. Years continued to pass, each one adding new layers to their story. The ranch expanded, with Thomas eventually taking over much of the daily operations while Tucker and Nora enjoyed a slightly slower pace. They never stopped working entirely, both too active and engaged to truly retire, but they had earned the right to choose their efforts. Nora's healing gift remained strong even as she aged. She continued to help those who came seeking aid, her reputation as a miracle worker carefully managed to avoid unwanted attention. Tucker's protection never wavered. He made it known that anyone who threatened his wife or spread dangerous rumors about her would face his wrath, and given his standing in the community, that was enough to keep trouble at bay. Emma married a rancher from a neighboring spread, further expanding the family's holdings and influence. William took a position with a cattle company in Sacramento, but visited often, always bringing his wife and children home to the ranch for holidays. The family grew, branches extending but always rooted in the land Tucker and Nora had built their life upon. One winter evening, when they had been married nearly 30 years, Tucker fell ill with pneumonia. It came on suddenly, turning a simple cold into a life-threatening condition within days. Nora used every bit of her gift to heal him, pouring her energy into his lungs, fighting the infection with everything she had. It took 3 days of constant effort, draining her completely, but she saved him. When Tucker finally opened his eyes clear and lucid, he found her collapsed beside the bed, exhausted but triumphant. "You saved me again," he whispered, taking her hand weakly. "Just like that first night, always," Nora promised. "I will always save you, Tucker Ellis. You are mine to protect, just as I am yours." They recovered together, his body healing from the illness, her energy returning slowly. That shared illness seemed to deepen their bond even further, if such a thing were possible. They had saved each other in so many ways over the years, through dangers and challenges, through the simple difficulty of building a life together in rough country. More years passed, filled with the joys and sorrows common to all lives. They buried old Sam when he finally passed at 89, having lived his last decades as a beloved part of their extended family. They celebrated weddings and births, mourned losses, worked through challenges. Through it all, Tucker and Nora remained partners, their love the foundation upon which everything else was built. When Thomas's oldest son showed signs of having inherited the healing gift, Nora taught him with the same care she had shown his father. The tradition would continue, she realized. Her gift would pass down through generations, and because of the safe space Tucker had created, none of her descendants would ever have to hide what they were. That legacy felt as important as anything else they had built. On their 40th anniversary, the family threw a grand celebration at the ranch. Children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren filled the property, along with friends and neighbors from across the region. It was a testament to the life they had created, to the love they had shared and spread. Tucker stood to make a toast, his hair silver now but his blue eyes still bright. 40 years ago, I was dying in a San Francisco alley, shot and bleeding out. A beautiful woman with a pure heart saved my life, though it risked everything for her. I promised to protect her if she healed me, and she agreed. It was the best deal I ever made. Everyone laughed, raising their glasses. But it stopped being just a deal pretty quickly, Tucker continued, his eyes on Nora, because I fell in love with her. Not just with her gift, though that is extraordinary, but with her courage, her compassion, her strength. She made me a better man. She gave me a family, a real home, a purpose beyond just surviving. Everything good in my life comes from that night when she chose to save me. Nora felt tears on her cheeks as Tucker walked over and took her hand. "So this is my toast," Tucker said. "To Nora Jenkins Ellis, the woman who heals everything she touches, to 40 more years if we are blessed enough to have them, and to the gift of being loved by someone extraordinary. To Nora, the cry went up from dozens of voices, family and friends celebrating the woman who had helped so many of them over the years. Later, when the party had wound down and they were alone in their bedroom, Nora and Tucker held each other close. "Did you ever imagine this?" Nora asked. "That night in San Francisco, did you have any idea what you were starting?" "I knew you were special," Tucker said. "I knew I wanted to protect you. But no, I could not have imagined all this. How could I? I did not know yet that you would be the love of my life, that we would build this incredible family together. I just knew I could not let you face the danger alone." "You kept your promise," Nora said. "Every day for 40 years, you have kept your promise to protect me. And I kept mine to heal you, though I have healed your heart as much as your body." "We healed each other," Tucker corrected. "That is what love does, I think. It heals the broken places, fills the empty spaces. You taught me that." They fell asleep in each other's arms, comfortable and content. Outside, the ranch stretched peaceful under the stars, land they had worked and loved and made their own. Inside, children and grandchildren slept under their roof, the result of a love that had started with a desperate bargain and grown into something unshakable. The years continued to be kind. Tucker and Nora grew old together, their love deepening with time rather than fading. They remained active as long as their bodies allowed, always finding ways to contribute to the ranch and the family. Nora's healing touch never failed, and she used it freely, knowing she was safe in the sanctuary Tucker had created for her. When they were both in their late 70s, Tucker fell seriously ill again, this time with his heart. Nora could heal many things, but she could not stop the natural aging process. She eased his pain, gave him more time than he would have had otherwise, but she could not make him young again. "I am not afraid," Tucker told her one quiet evening. "I've lived a full life, loved deeply, seen my family grow. If it is my time, I am ready." "I am not ready," Nora said fiercely. "I will never be ready to lose you, Tucker Ellis." "You will not lose me." Tucker's hand was weak but steady in hers. "I will always be with you, in our children, in this ranch we built together, in every person you have healed over the years. Our love does not end just because my body gives out. I know." Nora wiped her eyes. "But I will miss you terribly. And I will be waiting for you wherever we go next." "But not yet, my love. You still have work to do, people to help. Promise me you will keep using your gift, that you will not hide again." "I promise." Nora leaned down to kiss him. "I will make you proud." Tucker recovered enough to enjoy one more spring at the ranch, watching the valley turn green, seeing new calves born, holding his newest great-grandchild. Then, on a peaceful summer evening with his family around him and Nora's hand in his, he closed his eyes and did not open them again. Nora grieved deeply, as did the entire family. Tucker had been the center of their world, the man who had created this legacy of love and safety. But even in her grief, Nora felt grateful. They had been given 45 years together, 4.5 decades of partnership and love. It was more than many people got, and it had been beautiful. She continued living at the ranch, surrounded by family, continuing to heal those who came seeking help. Her children and grandchildren made sure she was never alone, never without support. Thomas took over as head of the family, but he always consulted his mother on important decisions, respecting her wisdom and experience. 5 years after Tucker's death, Nora finally felt the pull that told her it was her time. She was not sick, not injured, just tired in a deep, bone-level way. She knew what it meant. Her healing gift had kept her body strong beyond its natural years, but even that had limits. She gathered her family around her, everyone from oldest to youngest, filling the house that she and Tucker had made a home. "I want to tell you all something," Nora said, her voice still clear despite her age. "When I was young, I thought my gift was a curse. I hid it, feared it, ran from anyone who might discover it. Then I met your father, grandfather, great-grandfather. He looked at what I could do and saw only wonder. He gave me a place where I could be myself, where I never had to hide. And from that beginning, we built all of this." She gestured around at the gathered family, at the house, at the land visible through the windows. "I want you to remember that love is the greatest healer. Not just romantic love, though I was blessed with that, but all kinds of love. The love of family, of friends, of community. When you love someone, you create a space where they can be fully themselves, where their gifts can flourish. That is what your father did for me and what I hope we have done for all of you." Thomas squeezed her hand. "You and Papa gave us everything, Mama. We will never forget." "Good." Nora smiled at her family, at the faces she loved so much. "I am so proud of all of you. Keep this place safe. Keep helping people. And remember that the gift of healing comes in many forms. Some of you can heal bodies, but all of you can heal hearts. Use that power wisely." That night, Nora went to sleep in the bed she had shared with Tucker for so many years, surrounded by the love they had created together. She dreamed of a golden light, warm and welcoming, and of Tucker's voice calling her name. When her family came to check on her in the morning, she was gone, a peaceful smile on her face. They buried her next to Tucker on a hillside overlooking the valley, where they could watch over the ranch forever. The funeral was attended by hundreds of people, all of whom had been touched by Nora's gift of healing or by the love she and Tucker had shared so freely. The ranch continued, passed down through generations. The story of Tucker and Nora became family legend, told to each new child as they grew. How a cowboy with a gunshot wound and a woman with a miraculous gift had made a bargain. How that bargain had become love. How that love had created a legacy that lasted. The healing gift continued to appear in some descendants, and each one was taught the same lesson Nora had taught Thomas. Use it wisely. Use it freely. Never hide what you are. And they did, knowing they were safe in the sanctuary their ancestors had created. Years became decades. Decades became a century. The ranch remained in the family, a place of healing and safety just as Tucker and Nora had intended. Couples would visit the graves on the hillside, asking for blessings on their own marriages. Sick people would touch the headstones, hoping for a miracle. And sometimes, on quiet evenings when the light was just right, people swore they could see two figures walking hand in hand through the valley, watching over the land they loved. The story of Tucker Ellis and Nora Jenkins became part of the fabric of that region of California, a tale of true love and sacrifice, of gifts used wisely and promises kept. It was a reminder that even in the wild, rough days of the Old West, compassion and love could build something lasting. That night in San Francisco, when a dying cowboy had said, "Heal me and I will protect you," neither of them could have known they were beginning a love story that would echo through generations. But that was the nature of true love. It started with a single moment of trust, a leap of faith, and grew into something that could change the world. Tucker had kept his promise to protect Nora. Nora had kept her promise to heal Tucker. And together, they had healed each other in ways that went far beyond the physical. They had created a family, a home, a legacy of love that would never fade. On the hillside where they rested, wildflowers grew thick and bright, blooming even in winter as if touched by some lingering magic. The valley stretched green and gold below, the ranch buildings sturdy and well maintained by descendants who understood what a precious gift they had been given. And if you listened carefully on certain evenings, you might hear the sound of laughter carried on the wind, the echo of a love that had started with desperation and grown into something eternal. Tucker and Nora Ellis, the cowboy and the healer, together forever in the land they had made their own.